Hi everybody, my name is Chelsea, and this is the week of January 26th through February 1st, 2025, in my Project Life album. So let's get started. Alright, so I'm just going to start by showing where I'm at with my initial layout. This obviously might change, stuff's going to get moved around, whatever, but this is where I'm at now. I wanted to show what products I'm using at this stage, and I may pull other things in. So this patterned paper is coming from this paper pad, which comes from Joann's. It's their Park Lane brand. I do not know that it has a name, at least not printed on here, but there's a lot of very sort of like retro patterns, florals. I really like that. So this purple floral is from there, and in a few of these little elements there's like a cut apart sheet in that pad that I cut apart. And then some of these cards, this one, actually this one and that one, I believe are all Elle Studio. Various, I think these may have been from the January kit, maybe that one too. This was an older one, I think a couple years ago. It says Grateful under there. We're going to end up covering that up just because it doesn't quite fit with what I'm doing here. This is like this wasn't from a kit. I think this was an add-on. And then this is an Ali Edwards from January Stories by the Month. That was an Elle Studio embellishment from a past kit. And then this little flower also was from Elle Edwards, Stories by the Month for January. So that's where we're at now. And I'm going to get to work. And then I will let you know what's going on. Okay, so I am starting out with my title card. So I am pulling in these labels that come from Elle Studio. They are the week of label stickers, and there's just a bunch of labels that say the week of, and they come in all different colors. So I'm just picking out a green one and sticking that as centered as I can in the center of that card. And then I'm going to end up stamping my dates onto that label using another a stamp set from Elle Studio as well. It's the monthly numbers stamp. And I am using an archival ink pad. It's a Tim Holtz Distress Archival mini ink pad, and the color is Dusty Concord. It's just like a dark purple. And so, like I mentioned at the beginning, this is the week of January 26th through February 1st, 2025. I do my weeks Sunday to Saturday. So one other thing that I do, almost always do when I'm stamping, is I do a few test stamps on a little scrap piece of paper before I stamp onto my actual item. I'm not really sure why. I mean, I'm fairly new to collecting stamps. I'm trying to only stick to like dates and number stuff, you know, that I'll use like constantly. So I could easily see myself going crazy with all that, but yeah, kind of still getting the hang of stamping, so I like to do those little test stampers first. Plus, a lot of my stamps are fairly new. I feel like they need to get primed up a little bit, so that's that. I'll usually keep that beside me while I'm working. So just kind of cleaning up my space a little bit before I continue, before I stick my sleeve into my purple ink pad. The next thing I'm going to work on here is this card at the bottom of the page. So this card has a couple photos that I just got, I think, just off of like my Apple News app. A couple pictures from the two unfortunate airline incidents that happened during this week in DC and Philadelphia. I sometimes like to include current event stuff into my project life. It just sort of depends whether or not I mean, I don't put something like every week, but things that feel kind of significant, I tend to like to add those. But what I'm doing for this is just, I printed those off. I don't even remember what size they were, but you can see they're fairly small. And I'm mounting each of the two onto a piece of white paper just to sort of give them a white border, because I felt like where they were overlapping without the border, like it was just getting a little hard to, it wasn't looking too good. So I did that. This is actually just like a piece of scrap paper that I had on my desk from earlier in the week when I was working on some Valentines. So it actually already had some double-sided adhesive on it. So that made it super easy to use, and just stick those photos right down on there. So the next thing that I am doing is jumping across the spread, and I have this little box from some Tylenol sinus medicine. Everybody has been sick in our house for the last, it started with me, last week, I guess, and then now both my parents are sick this week, so we clearly went through a whole box. So, I like to include ephemera like that in my album a lot of the times. I felt like the color was a little bit jarring compared to some of the other colors I have going on in the spread, like that bright red kind of. So I cut that down a little bit to mount on that purple floral paper, just sort of like not make it stick out so much. I feel like that helped a little bit. So now I'm jumping back up to that big green 4x6 journaling card that says grateful. I'm just sort of making a little bit of an embellishment cluster. I'll come back and forth to this a few times, but just sticking things down as I know that I want them stuck there. Trying out a couple different word phrase strips and stuff like that, and stickers, trying to kind of decide what else I want to use to cover up that last part of where it says grateful on the card. It seems funny to cover that up, but it just doesn't really work with this spread. But I wanted to use that card because I've had it like a couple years and have yet to use it up. So here we go. So I don't actually end up sticking anything down there at this point. So I end up moving forward to doing my journaling about the two plane crashes from this week. So when I'm documenting current events, I don't really document them in like a this is what happened and when and all that, like in a historical kind of sense, because to me, if like future me wanted to like know that information, like, you know, in the context of this 2025 album with like these dates, I can like look it up, you know, you can Google it later, you'll find the information. I tend to take the current event and just write a little bit about like, I don't want to say how it affects me, because like these incidents didn't like personally affect me, if that makes sense, like in my personal life, but like I guess just like how I feel about it, and like what it makes me think about different things. So that's just what I'm writing here. Because I feel like that's kind of the information that I want to look back on. Not necessarily like there was a plane crash, but more just like, how was I responding to things at this moment in time? And I think that's the whole beauty of Project Life to me. It's like a journal, a visual journal / scrapbook. It's everything all at once. So now I'm just going through some of my smaller alphabet stickers and looking for some that I can use across the spread, to add a few like small titles to some of these cards as I go along. So I end up using these older Ali Edwards alpha stickers, and they're like a beige color. I've had these quite a few years, and I feel like that color is not necessarily something I would use a ton, clearly, because I still have them. So I was happy to find a use for those. They're a good size, and that beige actually sort of appears in a couple other spots in the spread, so it's nice to bring it back in, and I feel like it makes everything seem a little bit more intentional. So with those alphabets, I am just adding a DC and PA to each of those photos at the bottom, respectively, for their location. And then on my green journaling card at the side, I am just putting a short title over there that just says bad news, just to sort of fill up that top area. I feel like for me, I'm like all about putting my handwriting in my Project Life. So like most of my journaling is always going to be handwritten, but I feel like the moments that I really dislike my handwriting are when I'm trying to write big in like a large kind of empty space. So for me, like if I were to just write out bad news at the top there, I feel like it would look really bad. So that's why I end up using my stickers for that. And those kind of fit in there perfectly. So love when that happens. So I'm just using my pen to add kind of like a doodly stitched looking border to that card. I just felt like it needed one more little bit. So that's what I did with that. And then I believe the next thing I'm going to do is go up to that card that's right above it, that says "This is Us," and I am going to adhere my embellishments to it. So my little teacup is going to go on top of that little circle, which I just punched out of that purple floral patterned paper with a 1.5 inch circle punch. So I just put that on there just to sort of, again, bring that purple over to that card and just make it a little bit more cohesive in my eyes. So I'm just sticking that down in the corner, cutting off the excess, and then I am going to use a pencil and a ruler, and I'm going to, not measured, but I'm going to just add some really faint pencil lines to this card to help guide me when I'm writing, to try to keep my writing straight and like more or less evenly spaced. If I just tried to like go for writing in the open space with no lines, I feel like it would get all crooked and go all over the place. So I feel like this really helps me. If you've never done this before, I recommend it. I would say I used like a mechanical pencil. I like how the point is always like fine. It doesn't flatten, like a regular pencil. Barely even press down when you're drawing the line. Like you want it to be really, really faint. You don't want to leave like any indentation into the paper. It's just a guideline, so that would be my recommendation for that. So on this card, once I have my pencil lines on there, I am just doing a little bit of journaling that is saying that after 5 long years, we finally seem to have COVID in our house. I think I mentioned a little bit earlier how everyone has been sick. A couple weeks ago, I had like a cold, and it wasn't a big deal, but, you know, I was pretty tired, but I tested and everything, and I was negative, and everything was fine. I went to work and all that. But then at the end of this past week, my mom started not feeling super great. We figured she just had the same cold that I did. And I'm not sure what actually prompted her to take a COVID test, but she did, and hers was positive. So then when I got home from work that night, you know, I tested again, but I was still negative. So I don't know if I like missed my window, or maybe she could have gotten it somewhere else. It's a little unclear. But now my dad is sick too. It's just a weird, I don't know. But I had to mention that in there because, I mean, at this point, 2025, I think there's very few people who can say that they haven't even had COVID in their house. And as far as I know, I still have not had it yet. So, I mean, thank goodness for that. But, yeah, it was a notable event for us. That's how exciting my life is, right? But now I am just, sorry it's a little bit cut off here, but I am just adhering down those embellishments that I had cut out from that larger 12 by 12 paper I mentioned at the beginning. I'm also adding a word phrase sticker. These are from Elle Edwards. They came in the January Stories by the Month. I just picked one that said, Carpe that diem. I knew I wanted to add one of those there, and that was the one, I guess, that made the most sense. So, there you go. For that orange flower, like, rectangle, I did pop that up on a little bit of foam tape, just to sort of, mimic the dimensionality, I guess, of that circular flower chipboard that's on the 4x6 green card at the top. I felt like if I had one dimensional embellishment, I wanted that to, you know, appear in more than one place. But I didn't have another piece of chipboard, so I thought that worked fine. I am now circling back to that card that says This Is Us, and I'm lightly erasing my pencil lines. So I'm using I used a white eraser. If you're looking for one, I would say like Tombow Mono, or there's like Staedtler the Mars erasers, just like a white one, so it doesn't leave like any residue, and you erase like you're not pressing down like hardly at all. You're just like erasing softly, because if there's any printed color like on your card, this one isn't such a big deal because it's a white, you know, journaling spot, but if you have like printed color on your card, if you're a little too rough with the eraser, you can start to, you know, abrade away some of that color, which is disappointing. So that's tip for that. And make sure your ink is totally dry, your pen ink, so you don't smudge it. But now I have this photo of my pasta. This was my lunch one day this week. So I work as a receptionist. So on the days that I'm working, I eat either lunch or dinner, depending on which shift I'm working, at the front desk. So I took this shot of my pasta and meatballs. I think I ate the meatballs at this point, and I thought, oh, I should take a picture. And it's like on top of the notebook where we take our notes at the front desk. It's me and a few other people. We, you know, take shifts. So I just added those alpha stickers, and they say yum. And I added the little bit of like a doodly border kind of thing with my purple pen, just because I felt like the tone of those alphabet stickers was a little bit close to the background color on that photo. So I wanted a little something that sort of drew your eye into it, so you could see that was written there. So now what I'm doing is that I'm again circling back to that 4x6 green colored journaling card at the top. and I'm wanting to add the numbers 1, 2, and 3 into each of those 3 sort of segments of the card. The only trouble was I didn't have a 2 left on this sticker sheet. So what I'm doing now, which unfortunately I kind of cut off again in the camera, me doing this, I'm sort of Frankensteining together 2 other characters to make a 2. And it worked out okay. Let me know if anybody else does this. I do it semi-frequently. I feel like, you know, at a certain point you've used up a good portion of your stickers, and you gotta find a way to keep making them useful. So I'm just gonna skip ahead since I've cut myself off anyway here. So yeah, I think I ended up using maybe like a 3 and a 7 to sort of make that. It's not too bad. I mean, if you look at it close up, you can see that it's been pieced together, but it's good enough for me. So I just stick a 1, 2, and 3 into those 3 sections, just to sort of, I like how it looks typographically, but then also just to sort of differentiate the fact that there are going to be 3 different things I'm just kind of putting a little blurb about in those spaces. So going back to that embellishment cluster kind of that goes along the side, I end up pulling in these embellishments. They're like wood buttons with like an epoxy sticker kind of thing in the middle of them. They're from Bevalint, Beavalint. I think that's how you say it. And the collection name is Poppy and Pear. They're cute, so I just popped one of those in there. The only thing is they do have foam like dots on the back, and I did pull that off just because I thought it was plenty dimensional without the foam involved. So I just took those off and then stuck a piece of double-sided tape to it and stuck it back down in there, and that worked just fine. And so the other thing I'm doing now is sprinkling a few puffy hearts around my entire spread. These are from Maggie Holmes and their Woodland Grove collection. These came with like a bunch of different colors and some like pattern kind of ones in the pack. So I'm picking out pretty much just the pink and purple ones. I'll end up replacing that green one up at the top at a certain point. Just kind of popping those around as I see fit. And then I'm looking through my collection of enamel dots to do more little sprinkling. And I end up choosing these ones from Doodlebug, and they are sweet and spooky. So I guess they're from Halloween, but I don't know. They worked really well with my color scheme here. So pretty much just using the pink, orange, and purple ones. So when I am doing like the little kind of sprinkly clusters like this, I'll usually do like a small, a medium, and a large. The largest at the bottom, smallest at the top kind of thing, which maybe you can kind of see a little bit. And then I usually like to put them on one side or the other of a like you can see like on that title label, like I pick one, like usually I like the top corner, and I'll do a little sprinkly like bit in the corner, like on the side of that orange flower embellishment thing. I added some. I like kind of asymmetrical with those, but I always like the largest embellishment at the bottom just to keep it from feeling too top heavy. So now, once I have all those sprinkled everywhere, I am journaling on another card here. This one is just talking a little bit about the fact that I have a couple telephone job interviews coming up. Well, as of when I'm recording this, it's this week, tomorrow, and on Wednesday. And so a little bit about me, I guess, is that last year I spent like the second half of the year working on a certificate program for computer-aided design at like our local community college. So I finished that up in December. So now I'm looking for something in the field full time. So I've been, looking around since the first of the year. And these are my first like callbacks kind of interviews. So yeah, so I just wanted to mention that I was doing those in here, kind of mentioning which one I think I might be more interested in pursuing if I end up with the choice. And yeah, I want to try to put more writing kind of like this in my album this year. You know, not everything has to be like a picture and a caption. I want to just kind of have more journaling and stuff like that. So I am adding another one of those Ali Edwards word phrase stickers to the top of that. I have been doing this with all of those, but kind of like dovetailing the ends, cutting those notches into it. I just feel like that looks cute. And I chose new experiences for that one about the job interviews. I thought that was a good sentiment. So now I am doing my pencil line trick with another journaling card. And on this card, I am writing that this spread right here that we're all looking at is going to be the first one that I put up on YouTube and like share online, because I've been saying for like a couple of years, oh, I should post my stuff, and I don't ever do it. So I'm doing it, and I'm putting it in the album, so it must happen. So I just thought I would mention that, and then we'll see where it goes. Maybe it might be fun to, like, in a week check back in the album and maybe see like if anybody has seen it since I put it up. So we'll see. But I am also adding a few enameled. Oh, I think I'm adding a word phrase strip first, which says "Let's do this," and then I am gonna end up adding a few enamel dots also along the side, like the blank side of the card, not in a cluster, but just kind of in a line. I thought it needed a little something extra, so yeah, now I think I'm about to do that now. There you go. I was erasing my pencil lines first. Yeah, so I just kind of pop those in there, putting the card in the pocket. That little thing that I just want to mention, that little thing that says self-care, I adhered that on the outside of the page protector, which I do like to do sometimes, just because, like, you know, it's too wide to go on a card without trimming the ends, so I just thought I would paste it over the top. The photo that it's pasted over is just a photo of like some chocolate drizzled popcorn that I made during the week because I felt like I needed that. So self-care kind of goes with that, but it's like the photo itself wasn't necessarily all that interesting, so I was fine with kind of sticking the embellishment right over the top. So that's what I did there. I am now finally adding the journaling to my 4x6 card. I added my pencil lines, and so for spot number 1, I am just mentioning that I have been working on my Valentine's this week, during like basically any free time that I have. I made like a Cricut file for all the pieces, and then been like, you know, working on cutting them out and sticking stuff together, just between any free time I've had this week. And I did actually get them done, so that was quite exciting. I can mail them with a good amount of time before Valentine's Day, so hopefully my friends and everything can enjoy them. So number 2 that I am mentioning is that yes, that I worked 4 days in a row this week. My work schedule is usually kind of wacky. I only work part-time at the moment, so it's just sort of like, you know, whenever they put you on, you work. So I work a lot of nights, and then you know, you'll be like off a random day during the week or whatever. But this week I worked 4 days in a row, Monday through Thursday. So I ended up with a 4-day weekend off Friday through Monday, which was really nice. So I just wanted to mention that in there because I love when that happens. I always prefer to just get the work out of the way and then have more days off in a row than to have like a random day off in the middle. But yeah. And then story number 3 that I'm putting on here is just that it has been cold and I don't know. I feel like in the winter, I always forget how much I dislike the winter until it comes back every year. It's mainly because I feel like I like need more like fresh air and sun and, you know, the things that help us not to be sad. But it's cold, so I don't want to go out there. And then, I mean, you know, a lot of times it's like cloudy and kind of gray, but even when it's sunny, it's like, I don't know, it's just cold. I find like putting a coat on just to be so annoying. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like another thing. In the summer, it's just so easy to go out. On the other hand, I don't like the hot weather either. I'm like spring and fall are my ideal times of the year. But I'm just mentioning in this little journaling that I should try to take more advantage of the sunny days when they're here, you know, even in the winter, because it's not like you can count on it every day. And I think I could use a little more sun. So I'm slipping everything into the pockets now. I'll just briefly mention while I'm doing that, the last couple photos that I didn't put any journaling on were a photo from behind the front desk at work. And then I'm a big Jonas Brothers fan, and they put out a new song with Rascal Flatts on Friday. So I just took a screenshot of that on Spotify and stuck that in there. And then, yeah, up at the top right, those are just some photos from when I was, or just a photo from when I was working on my Valentine's during the week. So that is my completed spread for this week in my project life. I hope you guys liked this. I was really happy to be able to use up not only cards from this month's kit, but also from my stash, and a pretty good chunk of a 12 by 12 piece of paper, which is always good. Yeah, so let me know what you guys thought, and I'm gonna try to keep up with doing these every week. So hopefully I get better at the voiceover part, and hopefully I'll see you guys next week. Bye!